Okay, so in this video, we talked last time about, in generalities about working through the book. I want to show you specifically what I want to see from you as far as your homework from the book. How I want to see the completed problems and okay, so let's start with the downloading the templates. So what I did was I created templates for if you go to the mathematical puzzling in Python page, I added a section on downloads here. So you should have already downloaded the code examples translated from Logo to Python. I added this link from another page, but you probably have that already. And then there's this section I added called Homework Templates. So I'm going to download that one too. And let me just show you real quick how those download. So what's going to happen is, let's see, you'll see in your downloads file, you're going to see two different folders. So this is the one with the examples, like I said, that you probably already have. If not, you can just download it now. And then these are the templates. And you'll notice these have the chapter numbers and they have this EPE attached to the end. That stands for exercises, projects, and experiments. Okay? So what you want to do then is when you move these files into your wherever your workspace is, you want to copy them in such a way that they're all in the same folder, okay, which is what I did here. So if you look at this folder right here that says templates, I have my appendix, all the sample chapter files. Don't worry about these PYC files. That's just when Python compiles, it'll create those in your folder, but you don't have to edit them or anything like that. So the only ones you have to worry about are the appendix, chapter 1 EPE, chapter 1 PY. What do we got? So we got the regular chapter 1. I think you've seen already, but I'll stick it up here. Let me pull up idle. So this is the one I went over in another video about that. It has the section heading, functions, and then the chapter heading, what is a function, and the page, and all the. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see. Copy it into here. So that was this guy where you had the section with functions. With functions, what is a function, and then it had all the function definitions and all that jazz. Okay, so that's your chapter 1, but the new files that I just stuck up recently are these template files. Okay, and what you'll see in them is I have this section. Okay, so it starts off with this these three quotation marks, and these three that close it off indicate all one piece of text, and you can use that for comments. Notice there's a bit that says your name here, okay? So I want you to change that. So I see your name, so I know it makes it easy for me to see whose work I'm looking at, okay? So you do something like that. Whatever your name is, stick your name in there, okay? This is just some standard, header stuff that goes into Python file. So you want to put some kind of license agreement. You can just leave this. If you have but if you really have a favorite license, licensing agreement, you can stick that in there. But otherwise, you can just leave it. And then here's just a comment about what's in this file. So the next part is really the part where I'm explaining what's expected, okay? So in this file, this is a file for problems from Chapter 1, and this says Chapter 1 has 22 problems, 12 exercises, 3 experiments, and 7 projects, okay? And if you've looked through the book at all, you've seen, and we're going to see an example in a little bit, but you've seen what the problems look like. Exercises, experiments, and projects. Okay, for this chapter, you are expected to complete all exercises except for 120 and 121, which are, we talked about that before. Those are marked with hash marks, which means they're extra hard. So those will be extra credit. Okay, so exercises 120 and 121 are extra credit. So, but you'll be expected to complete all the other exercises, read all experiments and projects, complete at least 1 experiment, and complete at least 3 projects. So like I said before, even if you're not planning on completing a particular experiment or a particular project, it's going to be very helpful for you to read through all of the experiments and at least think about how you would take a stab at them. Okay, so that's the header there. Then there's this section right here. Let me copy that. That says, make sure chapter 1.py is in the same directory as this file. So again, I mentioned that last time. Oops, can I bring up my... Yeah, that you really want to have your problem sets, your files with your problem sets in the same folder as the sample problems, okay? And otherwise things are going to break, okay? So let me just show you. So, and the reason is that we're importing from chapter 1. So this is a Python statement. It says from chapter 01 import star. Okay, what that means is go into chapter 1.py, which we've seen before. That's the guy with all the samples. Okay, go into that one and import everything that's in there. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to make all the functions from chapter 1 visible in this file. So all the, F20, G20, Fahrenheit to Celsius, all the examples, you'll be able to access them and run them from in this Python file. Okay? So that's the import business. Then there's there are a bunch of comment files. And we'll talk about filling those in a second. But this is where you're going to put your code, okay, for experiment 1.1, which is on pages 23 to 24. You're going to put your code in here. And for project 1. So you're going to write, you know, def something and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But the other thing I wanted to mention was down at the bottom here. There's this very important section. Okay. So down at the bottom it says, use these functions to tabulate or test the functions you build. So there is a section in the book where he talks about tabbing. You know, it's near the beginning. I think, oh yeah, page 20. He kind of talks about creating a table of values for particular functions. So, and you know, so that's a really valuable thing to do when you're playing around with a lot of these functions, just to kind of look for patterns and see, you know, what's going on with a particular function. So, okay, so I stuck in. So when you, as long as you import, as long as you have that you know, import, which is already put into your file, and as long as your chapter1.py is in the same directory as your homework file, then you'll be able to use this tab and this test. Okay, so let's see, what else can we say about it? Yeah, so let me just demonstrate it for a second here. You can actually, as soon as you open up this file, even without having added anything to it, you can actually run it. Let me scooch this over a little bit so we can see the shell window. So I'm going to say, I'm going to run this module, and right now it said tables, function F20 from 1 to 5. And remember, I don't know if you remember F20, but that one basically just takes a number and doubles it. So if the input is 1, we get a 2. If the input's 2, we get a 4, and so on. Okay. So then I also have this section tests. Okay. And what it says here is, for this test, it says, okay, got 2002, expected 2002. So let's look in a little more detail about what's going on with that. So for the tables, we did a table from 1 to 5. For the test, what the test does is, if you put your function with some input, so we're testing F20, right? And let's say we went through and things seem to be working for values 1 through 5, but we want to say, well, what if we input 1001? Is it still going to work? And so what we can do is we can say, all right, I'm going to make a test with on the function F20 with the input 1001, and I expect to get 2002, right? Because that's twice 1001, so I get 2002. So that's to be expected. Now let's say for some reason we thought we were going to get 2003. I'm going to just stick that one in just to show you what, oops, wrong place. Just to show you what happens. I'm going to say I expected 2003 and run this now. Now, and I'm just going to copy the test here for a second. Now, instead of I'm just going to show you the output for the test underneath these dollar signs. So this stuff up here is all code. Underneath here is just the output from the Python shell. So here it said tests. Look at this. Instead of saying OK, it says X. Because this time we got a 2002, but you told me I was supposed to get a 2003. Okay? So this is a way to test out your code and see if it's doing what you expect it to do. Okay? So that way you have two tools for playing around. You have your tab guy and your test guy. Now, oh, there's one other thing. Well, let's do an example from the book. Actually, let's walk through an example from the book and see. So I'm gonna scooch this over and take a look at. Let's see. Okay, I'm on page 23. And so this is the way you're going to see the problems. It'll either say experiment 1 point something, or project 1 point something, or example 1 point something. Okay, so this is an experiment. This is on page 23. Experiment 1 says write logo versions of the following mathematical functions. Okay. And then it says, on page 24, I'm just going to read it for you. It says, tabulate each function between 1 and 15. And then which ones have identical tabulations and why? Do any functions have almost the same tabulations, and can you explain why? Okay, so this is this is why they call it an experiment, right? You're trying out different things, and you're going to see what works. What works how? You're looking for patterns, okay? So let's see. Let's do. I'm gonna write the function f and stick it in here. You know, I'm not completely sure we went over the power function. So just to make sure, I want you to know what the power function looks like. So because for this one we want to be able to get x cubed, right? We need to be able to take x to the third power. So to get x to the third power, if you're defining your function, I'm not going to give you the whole answer, but we're going to return something, right? For the x cubed part, you're going to want to say something like this, power, so x to the third. And then you'll need to add it to, you know, the rest of the part. So you'll need to fill in the code that does the plus 3x minus 2, okay? So let me get rid of that for a second. All right, so now what you can do is you can go down to your tab suite and say, okay, well, for f, I want to tabulate from 1 to 15. Okay, and then after you write your g function, you can say, okay, I want to tabulate g from 1 to 15. Okay, so all these, so see, g is the function that does 5x plus 7. And then you're going to have an s, you're going to have a v. Okay, so you'll just add all those in. Okay, so you end up with all these tables. Let me just pop in a couple here to show you what it looks like when it runs. Let's see. I'm going to put in. So let's say we've written I'll just put in a bunch more. Okay, so we've written a bunch more. So then we can go down here and say, I'm going to replace this F20. I'm going to say F from 1 to 15. And then I'll just put a bunch of other ones in. So this is going to be G, S, V. If you go on page 24, there's some more to do. There's H. There's a bunch more, but I'm just going to stop here just to give you an idea. So when you tabulate these, what you'll do is you'll go and say run module, and you'll get a whole bunch of tables. Okay, so then what you can do is go through and look at them. How do they compare? How does you know, how do functions f and g compare? How do they compare with function s and with function v? Okay, and then answer the questions. Okay, so then what's going to happen is you'll enter all of these, and then you can just put in a comment in here and just say, and you can just use the 3 quotes trick and just say, you know, I found that functions Q and Z had identical tables, and you know, and these functions, you know, X and R had, you know, had almost identical functions. This is why I think that's true. Da 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 da. You know, whatever you need to write down there to answer the question, and just close that off. Okay, so that's the basic idea. That's how your problem sets should look. So then you fill out this whole file, answer the questions. Again, like I said, some of these you're just gonna read some of the projects or some of the exercises. So you could even, if you just you could even just stick in like read but did not attempt. You know, if you or read and attempted but did not complete. You know, whatever you want to tell me about that project or experiment. Okay, but again, like I said, I expect all the exercises to be done. Okay, if you're having trouble with them, send me an email or something. But it's your job to do them, unless it has a hash mark in the book. And what I did in the file was I wrote a comment like this, that it's hard. So that's extra credit. Okay. And so that's how you do your homework. If you have any questions about that, just shoot me an email, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.